Hey guys, welcome back to Belle's Hoyas. Thank you everybody for visiting my site again, and for all my subscribers, thank you for your wonderful support to my channel. And today I would be making a video on Hoya, peduncles, flowers, and I would just like to share with everybody, how some of the peduncles look like, and before blooming, the buds, and just to show everybody, because I have some questions from some of the viewers asking, how do you know, whether the Hoya is going to bloom? How do you know it's a peduncle, or how do you know, it's a new growth? So I would like to take the chance to share, and here goes. And so you can see for this peduncle, it's yellowing up. This bud is yellowing up, and most likely it would drop off. Because once they start yellowing, that's a sign that they would probably bud blast, which means it would drop off. And the reason is because for this particular Imperaris Palawan, it has another peduncle here. So and this one is doing fine, and look at it, it's so big and huge. I've noticed that for Hoyas, usually if they have more than one peduncle, I tend to see that they would only be able to support only one peduncle with buds. So the second one usually would be aborted, and I've seen this in quite a few of my Hoyas, so it's quite common and not really a surprise. For Canosa, you can see there's two peduncles here with buds at different stages. So this one is at a very early stage. Usually for Canosa is quite a easy Hoya. So at this stage, usually they would still develop onwards to the next stage, which would be slowly budding up till somewhat like this before they open up. And this would be how it looks when it's fully bloomed. So this is a case for a Hoya like a Canosa, but it is a more finicky or sensitive Hoya. Sometimes I notice at this stage it would bud blast or drop off, and usually the common reasons I see for bud blast is lack of watering. So the media is too dry or left to dry out, and then the buds would just sort of drop off. So this is what I notice in my environment. So when the Hoya is budding up or when it's flowering, do try to keep the media moist. Having said that, don't overwater your Hoya. Just keep it lightly moist. Make sure you don't just dry it out, because I think that's a kind of common misconception that people tend to make. They think, oh, I need to dry out my Hoyas, but I think that's one of the reasons why bud blasts. And just now I just mentioned that sometimes for a more sensitive Hoya, or like a new mother plant that's just flowering for the first time, they actually can't support so many peduncles, and they would just sort of abort one of the smaller ones. But this also would depends on the type of Hoya. So for Hoya like a Imperialis Palawan that I just showed, because that's the first time that Hoya is blooming. So I think that's why it's aborting, you know, the second peduncle. But for my Canosa, it has bloomed many times, and it's a very mature mother plant. As you can see, it's a big one here. It's a big one here, and it even have another peduncle here. It has several peduncles actually. You can see there's one there and there as well. So for Canosa, it would be able to support you know, quite a few peduncles and blooms at the same time. So what I want to say is sometimes it also would depend on the Hoya itself. This is Patricia buds that's budding up nicely, and Patricia is a relatively stable Hoya. So usually at this stage, it should safely bud up and bloom if I keep the media moist. So yes, this is another example of the buds with the peduncle. And as I shared earlier, from the peduncle you can also see the number of times the Hoya has bloomed by the rings. So for Patricia, it has actually bloomed for quite a number of times, about maybe 10. Yeah, so you can see that here. Next, I'm going to show my Uncinata buds over here, and these are very early stages of budding up of the plant. And again, you can see from the peduncle, there's quite a number of rings there, and this Hoya is also a frequent bloomer, and from my experience, so far it's been doing good. You know, even though it's very small here, usually it would safely bud up and bloom. And I have another plant that, another Uncinata that is flowering. So you can see that this is how it looks like when it flowers. Let's look at that. Isn't it beautiful and gorgeous? I'm trying to get a good lighting. I hope that's clear because it's quite sunny here. And another interesting thing to note is some of the Hoya's flower or peduncle are very long. Like for this particular case, you can see how long the peduncle is. Look at that. This one is a fairly young peduncle, so there are not many rings on it, if you can see. Sorry, it's a bit hard to film with one hand. Yeah, here you go. So you can see there are not many rings. So this one is a fairly young peduncle compared to the other one. Yeah, here we go. And the mother plant is here. It's not a big one, but it has grown a long vine and all the way to here to flower. And it seems like Hoyas tend to like to do that. They tend to like to put up a long vine, you know, without any leaves, and it would just sort of like grow, you know, trail along, and eventually it would put up a peduncle at the end of the vine. So if you have space, do allow your Hoyas to put up vines, because that seems to also help in flowering. And next we will move on to my UT247 Hoya. This one is a fairly big mother plant as well, and as you can see there are 3 peduncles here. This one is the latest one. So I also noted that similarly for this Hoya, if it has one flowering peduncle, actually it does bud up, like all a few of them would bud up, like you can see from here it's budding up, and it would bud up to pretty big, like both of them. But eventually only one peduncle would go to a full bloom, and the other one would be blasted. So as I shared with you guys, sometimes that's quite common for Hoya to just support one peduncle, depending on the variety. Even though this is quite a big mother plant, but this is what I see for this case. And as you can see, this is budding up again. If I keep the medium moist, usually it would bud up to fully, and it would bloom. And this one is a frequent bloomer, as I've shared many it's quite a few of my videos, earlier videos. I will put a link to my older videos, and you can have a look at the gorgeous red blooms over there. Moving on, I have my calastophilia here. This is a very small plant in a 3-inch pot, and as you can see, it has 2 peduncles that's fully bloomed. So for this particular Hoya, I think it's an exception because it's a small plant, but it actually supported 2 peduncles that's fully bloomed. Of course, I also kept the media moist, so I'm not sure if that helps the Hoya to maintain the flowers. Yeah, so, and I'm just sharing my experience with everybody. So I guess calastophilia is not such a diva. I mean, this is actually the first time it has flowered, and I'm really pleasantly surprised that both of the blooms actually stayed on. I was really expecting one of them to sort of not go to the full time and drop off. So yeah, I just want to share with you guys. And maybe just to say something about the flowers. At this stage, that you can see is fully open up, is definitely going to drop off very soon. I would guess, I mean, it's going to drop off and close up very soon. I would guess probably by later the day. So yeah, let's just enjoy the blooms, before it says bye to us. And next I have Polyneuria here. If you guys remember, it has flowered earlier on, and the flowers lasted for almost 3 weeks, and it has dropped off. So that was the old peduncle there. So just to show you guys, and the good news is it has budded up again. So these are the new buds, and from the size and my past experience with the first peduncle, I think it looks fine. I just have to make sure the media is kept lightly moist and not dried out. I noticed Polyneuria tends to be a little bit more thirsty, and yeah, it probably would take another week or so before it opens up. And I just want to share that is another small one here. I noticed that Polyneuria does put out peduncles and small buds quite easily, but they usually don't grow up to maturity. So I don't think this second one is going to develop into full term, but we will see. As we know, Hoya sometimes surprises us, and that's why we love them. Yeah, and just look at the gorgeous leaves. And just to take note, for my polyneura, I actually grow it indoor. I mean, this one is my only Hoya that is grown indoors. As I already shared before, Singapore is very, very hot and all year round, and polyneura is actually a Hoya that grows in a cooler temperature. So I have experience putting it outdoor, and it didn't do well. Its leaves were like sort of yellowing up, and it just looks sad. So I brought it indoors, and it's finally doing well. Yeah, and it has flowered like one time, and now this is the second round. So I would think that if you live in a hot country, it might be a good idea to bring it indoors, because I have the air conditioner on most of the time, so it's about, I guess, 25-26 degrees Celsius indoor. And I was initially worried about the humidity, but I think it's still fine. It seems to be doing okay. And media wise, it's in the original mix, so it's still pretty well draining. So I just have to take care that I don't over water it, because I know polyneura is also very sensitive to over watering. So just to share with you guys. Oh, and so sorry about this clipper here. This plant is just so top heavy that if I don't put this, I think it's just gonna sort of like crash down, and that's goodbye to my beautiful buds. Yep. Yeah, so a DIY for you. And sometimes you spot something that you're not very sure if it's a peduncle or a new kind of growth tip. I think it's a bit difficult to tell sometimes, when we are all new. And I see that from my experience so far, most of the time, peduncles don't grow at the tip, but of course there are also honestly exceptions. I've seen a couple of cases, but if you spot something that is hanging out from the side like this, I'm trying to take a better view. Yeah, if you see a tiny a point that is sort of like growing outwards and hanging in this manner, most likely it is a peduncle. For those that are at the end, sometimes it could be a peduncle, but most of the times it's not. And another way to tell is for new growth, you would see like sort of a rounded sort of ring, and this is usually a new growth because these are where the leaves would be coming out. For a peduncle, there would not be that kind of things. Yeah, so that's one way to see if the Hoya is putting out a new peduncle or not. And here we have my ovata. As you can see, it's a very small plant that I grew from a cutting. So beautiful with splash. And as you can see, it has put up oops, I'm sorry guys. Gosh, the pot broke. Yeah, and it has to happen when I'm filming. Sorry about that. Yeah, so as I was saying, you can see a peduncle over there, and it has also a growth point on top. So initially when this peduncle first appeared, you know, it was right like at the tip. So just now I was sharing, sometimes, you know, the peduncle could happen at the end of the plant. So this one is an example. So when it first appeared, it was really tiny, you know, but I could tell it was a peduncle because it was sort of like having this kind of shape. And now that it has become bigger, it's pretty obvious that it is a peduncle, and it has also pushed out a new growth point there. So it seems, I mean, so that it's no longer like, you know, at the end of the plant. So yeah, this is another example of peduncle. This is a brand new peduncle, and with a growth point to show you guys. Next, I also want to touch on this is a Hoya lockii, who is a frequent bloomer, but not very happy, I think, because it has got some spider mites early on. So you can see the leaves are like a bit yellow. Yeah, actually you can still see the spider mites, so it needs to be treated. And I'll probably make another video next time about pest care for Hoyas. So back to the topic of peduncles and flowers. So for lockii, you can see, you know, it has many peduncles here, and I just want to touch on that for some Hoyas, you know, after flowering, they would actually drop off that peduncle, and they will not flower again. So it's different from some of the other Hoyas that I've shown earlier on, you know, with the rings like Patricia and Canosa and UT247. Those, you know, once the flower drops off, they would keep the peduncle. So it's the old peduncle, and then, you know, it would just continue to flower. So please do not cut those peduncles off, because the flowers will grow from there. But for this particular one, lockii, you can see that's a very old peduncle there that's been blooming for, I think, almost 3 weeks, and you can see the flowers are like really yellow. I think if I touch it, it might just drop off. Let's see. Yep, see. So it's just ready to drop off, and you can see that the peduncle is yellow. You know, eventually, if you don't do anything, eventually the whole thing just going to become yellow and it will drop off, and that's actually normal for a lockii. In fact, if it doesn't drop off, I would actually sort of take it off. I don't want the plant to waste energy on its old peduncle, because it would drop off in the end. But this is only for Hoyas like a lockii or multiflora. Multiflora, if you can see the shape, you know, they're pretty similar. So for multiflora, I also noticed that the peduncle would, you know, flower once and it would just drop off, and it would just continue to form, you know, new peduncles. As you can see here, there are several new peduncles. Yes. So just want to share that point with everybody as well. So I hope that this video and information and tips I've shared with everybody is helpful and useful this round too. And again, you know, thank you for coming by, and for my subscribers, thank you for, you know, giving me your positive support and comments every time. And I would be definitely making more videos. Please share with me, you know, maybe what you would like to see, you know, for the next videos. Give me some suggestions. And I have to say, I'm also learning and growing with everybody, so definitely let's come together and exchange information and care tips. And once again, thank you so much, and signing out here, Belle's here, and I see you the next time. Bye.